Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. Welcome to episode 7 of our Top 5 Fridays news articles. Before we get into it, I got a question for our audience. I found this almost mint pair of Rossignol 4S on the side of the road the other day. It's literally I feel like they've been skied 3 times in their life. So pretty stoked on that. And I don't think I'm going to ski these bindings. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of put a poll out. People can leave a comment and let me know what color pivot you think I should put on these 4S's for next season. Because I definitely want to ski them. I'm sure there might be some people that think they'd be better to just put on the wall, but I just really want to ski them. They're in such good shape. I think it'd be so fun. So yeah, let me know what color pivot you think would look the best, and I'll try and do my best to get my hands on that color pivot and put them on here. I'm kind of leaning towards the new Forza color, that purple color, because I feel like it would match some of the kind of pink in this little VAS graphic. But yeah, that's it. I thought that would be a fun way to start it. Second, I just had triple battery failure in all my lav mics. So I apologize. I know audio quality in these things have gone up and down, so to speak, as I've been working from home. Thanks for bearing with me. This is what I would call secondary audio, but I'm trying a couple different things. So hopefully it's okay. And I promise that next week we'll be back to proper quality audio. I'll go buy a lifetime supply of batteries. So without further ado, let's get into the week's news. Number one, and I would imagine people expected we were going to talk about this because we've been following it and speculating on it for a while. But Arapahoe Basin, a basin in Colorado, has opened. They opened 2 days ago on Wednesday. And we've got a few reports on this. Ski Magazine talked about it, Denver Post and Colorado Sun as well. Denver Post and Colorado Sun have been coming through with some great topics recently. But yeah, they're open, and it's been going fairly smoothly. Right now, A-Basin's limiting things to 600 skiers per day, and they've already kind of had some stumbling blocks along the way. They started with a reservation system that crashed immediately, and since then they've switched to basically a random drawing. So for everybody out there that might want to ski a basin, you can find links to all this stuff in the description of this video. But if you want to ski a basin, they're basically doing it from 7 to 9 p.m. I assume it's Mountain Standard Time, 2 nights or 2 days before the day that you want to go skiing. That's when you can enter your name into this lottery system, and they'll kind of randomly select 600 skiers that can ski that day. Now, if you go onto their Facebook page and read through the comments, it's clear that this hasn't satisfied all frustrations. I read through some feedback from people, and there were people saying I'm 0 for 4, or I was at the mountain and checking things out, and it looked like far less than 600 people. Some people are speculating that there have been a lot of people that have won the lottery but then not redeemed their lift ticket. So still some frustration out there, but I think it's cool that people get to go skiing. Definitely a different scene than you normally see at a basin. If you've skied a basin this time of year, it's normally full on party scene, which is great. But that's not going to be the case this year. And there's kind of a funny quote from their governor, Jared Polis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right, so forgive me. But he basically said, I'll leave the quote up in whatever corner I put things, but he said, no keggy keggers, which is just a hilarious phrase. So don't be having any keggy keggers if you're going to a basin. Colorado Sun, their kind of take on this touches more on how this may be more of an experiment on how things are going to work down the road than anything else. Obviously, hopefully by the time we get to next season, we can get more than 600 people at a place like a basin per day. But I think it's valuable that ski resorts are getting to kind of play around with this now rather than say they have to do it down the road in November and have no practice. At least now they're getting some practice and some experience. In other news, Crystal Mountain and Beartooth Basin, we've kind of touched on this over the past few weeks as well. Both of those resorts are set to open this coming Monday. So I think we're up to like four or five places to ski in the United States right now, which is better than zero. Next up, this is similar, another COVID-19 topic, but basically the ski industry got together and along with signatures from 16 governors from states that include ski areas, they were able to expand the parameters for the Paycheck Protection program. Originally, the guidelines for that really kind of left out ski areas basically because of the date range. This is a pretty interesting topic. I'm not going to get too into the details on it, but essentially this could really help resorts stay financially healthy. It might not be everything, but it's certainly going to help ease some pain. And in theory, it should help bring back, some key full-time year-round employees. Basically, the gist of it is if a resort had 25 employees in May 2019 and they have 25 employees in May 2020, they're going to be eligible for the program. That's really dumbing it down quite a bit. But they're basically, they're going back and comparing to staffing levels based on last year and kind of using that as helpful information to determine whether a resort falls into the criteria or not. So that's pretty cool. Really cool to see the industry get together. I think it's cool that 16 states and their governors kind of got on board, and hopefully this breathes a bit of life into the ski industry, because a lot of resorts were struggling. A lot of resorts lost up to 20% of their revenue having to close in March, which is significant. So great job, industry. Great job, governors. It's great to see. Next up, we have an article in Powder Magazine, and this is something that we've been speculating about for a while, and it's basically talking about how COVID-19 may and probably will accelerate the interest and the demand for backcountry touring and the associated equipment. Really interesting stuff. They talked about some specific shops out west and how that gear basically was flying off the shelves. We saw it firsthand for sure. Back in March when, the initial shutdowns were happening, we sold out of climbing skins in like a couple days. I wanted to get a pair for my girlfriend and I couldn't. They'd sold out. So it was pretty interesting. We saw demand both here in Vermont in our brick and mortar shop as well as online, and yeah, bindings and mostly bindings and skins were really flying off the shelves. But I think there's definitely a lot of truth to this, and I think a lot of people, regardless of what happens with resorts next season and what guidelines might be and what restrictions there might be, regardless, I think there are going to be a lot of people looking to the backcountry. Backcountry skiing is really fun too. Of course, it's also more dangerous than skiing in the resort, so as always, if you're considering going out in the backcountry, I hope we don't sound like a broken record on this stuff, but if you're considering going out in the backcountry, make sure you have all the necessary safety equipment. You're doing it with trustworthy people, and just take all precautions, because things can happen quickly in the backcountry, and you can find yourself in a not so great situation, in the blink of an eye. So, in all seriousness, if you're planning on backcountry skiing, make sure that you're doing it safely and correctly, so to speak. Next up, this is fun. I guess this is still COVID-19 related. Let's just pretend it's not, though. How about that? This is an article from Empora.com, basically on Japan and the tourism industry in Japan, and for us skiers, the idea that next season may be the best time to go powder skiing in Japan. Obviously, that is dependent on our own travel restrictions, Japan's travel restrictions, stuff like that, which is still a unknown variable. But the Japanese government is planning a $12.5 billion stimulus that basically could make it cheaper for somebody like myself or somebody like you to go skiing in Japan next season. Basically, that 12.5 billion would be in the form of vouchers and discounts for visitors that they can use at local shops, restaurants, stuff like that. Pretty interesting. It's partly in response to the Tokyo Olympics being postponed for a year. There was a lot of hype around that Olympics. You know, they were introducing some new sports like skateboarding, and I think that was going to be a big boom for the Japanese economy. So interesting to see them kind of maneuver and find a way to boost that industry. And yeah, maybe we can all go skiing in Japan next year. I'm for it. And that's it for news topics. Now we have our edits of the week as usual. Number one, well, first, before we get into it, this was a bit of a light week for edits of the week, so my esteemed colleague Matt got a little bit creative in his choices. First one is episode 11 from Armada Homeschool. If you haven't been watching these, just go back and watch all of them because they're all pretty good. Episode 11 is with the Provo brothers, and the easiest way I can describe it is it's about half an hour of just like feel good outdoorsy stuff, from fishing to skiing to mountain biking and basically anything that you can think of. You just kind of follow the Provo brothers going around outdoors, and nice way to kind of mentally get outside for a second if you can't do it yourself. Next, we have a video of the K2 skiing demonstration team from 1971. Pretty cool. I like this stuff. I like this throwback stuff. And number 3 is very similar. It's a trailer for Winter Equinox from 1974, which is a freestyle skiing movie. And I don't think I've ever seen this. I probably have because I feel like I've consumed more skiing content than you could imagine possible. But if somebody has a link to the full video, leave it in the comments because I would love to go back and rewatch it and make sure I have actually seen it. But either way, really cool stuff. I guess there's some questionable language in there, so maybe proof watch it if you're planning on watching it with kids. Nothing like tremendously offensive, but just a slight warning. And then our last edit of the week is not skiing related at all, but it's really pretty cool. There was a contest called Murder Your House, which is certainly not what it sounds like. But basically it was a challenge for skateboarders staying at home. Obviously, the guys in this edit have some extensive experience skateboarding at home. There's no way they built all this stuff in the past 2-3 months. How long has it been? How long have I been down here? But anyways, it's really cool. And that's it. So that's our episode 7, Top 5 Fridays. Hope everyone's staying safe, healthy, happy. We'll see you on the mountain bike trails. It's been like 90 degrees here in Vermont, and I'm just gonna like sit in my basement for the rest of the day because it's the coolest spot in my house. So thanks for checking in as always, and we'll talk to you next week.